introduce him again, he's a master's student um, at the University of Oxford. He's studying for masters in global health science and epidemiology, the same course that I studied. And he's also a medical doctor from Nigeria. So he's going to be sharing insight with us today. Thank you very much for joining us today. And we are certain that we're going to have an interesting session with you today. So the floor is yours, Dr. Sadiq.
Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you for having me and for such a great introduction. I'm Sadiq Yusuf, uh, like you rightly said, a medical doctor and public health specialist. A Chevening Scholar and undertaking my MSc in Global Health Science at Oxford. Yeah, so I believe achieving, again, just to provide context, whatever I say here, it's not from the Chevening Scholarship itself. It's not official. This is just my own context, right? I believe that Chevening Scholarship is one of the most popular in quotes, right? Scholarships amongst Nigerians, right? And I mean, it's prestigious and it provides uh, full funding as well as provide stipends when you are in the UK, right? However, it's highly competitive, just like the host mentioned. I remember in my course, we about 15,000 of us applied and just 40 people were selected. So that's just like about 0.2% success rate thereabout. But it's quite doable. I mean, I'm here. So I think I won't spend much time on the eligibility criteria for achieving because I assume that anybody who is serious about the scholarship would have gone through the website. So
Right.
this information is there on the website. And if there any scholarship that there are lots of videos, there are lots of YouTube videos on, it's definitely Chevening Scholarship, right? On the different tips. So I think I will try to focus more on maybe some of the tips that are not really out there, uh, rather than the general one that everybody knows, right? So the most important part of Chevening application is the essays. So you have four essays: the leadership essay, networking essay, um, why study in the UK, and and career plan, your career plan. So there's this general formats when it comes to uh, achieving essay, particularly the leadership and as well as the networking essay, and that is using the STAR approach. STAR here means situation. S stands for situation. T for task. A for action, and R for results. Right. So the situation in this context, it's more like what is the problem that you're trying to solve, right? And T is what is the task at hand, what needs to be done, and then A for action is what did you do, right, to address that particular situation, and R for results. Some people mentioned that you could add L to it, more of what is the lessons learned, right? But that L is not sacrosanct in the sense that the help could be that okay, when I did this, uh this was the problem, this is what I did, and this was the result. So you probably want to show that this is not one-off. It's not like you went to serve in one northern state, one local government, then you identify a problem. It's a persistent problem, not just something that came came out when you were there. Like it's been there for a while. So you come about your solutions, you implement them. Yes, this is the result, but what did you do to make it sustainable? Right. So it shouldn't just say, okay, I did this and this was the result, and you leave it there. Right. So I will, that's definitely something I'm going to advise. And
Sadiq, so all the questions is advisable
yeah,
to use star approach.
yeah. So for the leadership and networking, and the
Hmm.
reason for um, trying to use the star approach is just to be succinct, right? Because you have just 500 words for
Hmm.
each of the essay, 500 words. And if I could remember, looking at the scoring guide, I don't know whether that is publicly available, right? But the scoring guide said that applicants has provided, I'm quoting it verbatim now, applicants has provided a multiple number of examples to demonstrate their strong leadership and influencing skills, right? A multiple number of examples, right? Imagine you have to create context, state what you need to do, what you did, and then the results, right? And you need to do that within 500 words. So the star approach just allows you to provide like up to three examples if you're able to write effectively. And so, going back to where I just read now, again, it's not really just about the quantity. When it comes to write up essays, it's not just about, okay, they said multiple number. Sadiq says, just provide three examples for, and that will be it. No, so the quality matters. I've seen people that provided just two examples and they got it in the head, right? But what I would just advise, particularly for Nigerians, is that you want to put everything in, right? Because it's crazy. Like I remember my cohorts, like I said, were at least 15,000 people applied. The next country then was Pakistan, and it was just over 5,000. Well, just over
Imagine.
5,000. So and I always tell people when it comes to Chibi, like you need to put your best foot forward. And also, there is a luck or maybe grace aspect as well. Because uh 15,000 people applied, about 200 people make it to the interview stage, right?
I
You
don't know if you are
can't.
going to come to this. Is there any particular thing, maybe achievement they are looking at? Or you're still going to come to that?
Yeah, I'm going to come to that. I just want
Okay.
to provide that
All right.
overview,
All right.
right? So I just want to provide that overview. So for like, and this is my personal opinion, but I feel that if you do not get the leadership essay right, there's a good chance that no matter what the other ones look like, maybe I should say leadership and networking,
Hmm.
there's a good chance that you might not be invited for the interview. Right, because the scholarship is really about leaders who have uh, demonstrated impact in their home country,
Hmm.
right? So even if you have good idea of what you want to do in the UK, you
Hmm.
have a good career plan, but your leadership essay is like it's made, or your networking essay, then I might not even get to your why study in the UK. Right. So, I mean, I try to emphasize this a lot. Do not get me wrong. The other essays while studying in the UK and career, they are as important. But if your leadership and networking are not strong, uh, there's probably no reason to proceed to read. Because again, if 15,000 people are applying, I pr each reviewer probably has like 20 essays to review. 20 times 4, that's like 80 essays to actually read. Because and another advice is when you are writing these essays, you need to keep the reader in mind. Who is reading my essay? Based on what condition? Imagine if I have just two essays to read compared to when I have 80 essays to read. Like it's my attention span will be definitely different, right? So, and you want to bear in mind that it's not a Nigerian that will likely be reading your essay.
Right.
it's a white person. So how you write matters. The
Mm,
context you provide matters, right? So I mean, if you, let's say you live in Lagos and you just said, um, Makoko, like you just think that, well, almost everybody knows that, but the person really knows nothing about it. But
mm,
when you say like, an underserved population, right, in a resource constraint setting called Makoko, like I don't need to have heard Makoko before now. Just putting it in that context, like exactly, I understand what you're saying, exactly. So now, then I think there are different myths about Chevening scholarship. I remember then when I wanted to apply, someone mentioned that, you need to have served with the military, you need to have been in Sambisa Forest, all sorts of things. Trust me, like you don't, like it's really not that deep, right? It's more of what have you done, right? What have you done? And, being able to state it clearly. And does it really align with the UK goal in Nigeria? So this is another strategy. I think every year or maybe every 3 years, like, the UK release this strategy on what they want, like their interest in each of the partner countries, right? So you want to find those documents. Okay, in your field, what did UK mention? Oh, they're interested in leveraging digital health to improve access to healthcare. In uh, Nigeria, for instance. And you're working maybe where you're working in the field in public health, right? So how do you tie what you're doing to their goal, right? So because again, if I want to give you money, then if what I might like what you're doing, but if it doesn't align with my goal, there's no reason why I should provide money to you. So this context matter. They
mm,
matter a lot, right? When putting your essay together. Like imagine if 15,000 people are applying, trust me, at the very least, 1,000 people will write fantastic essays. 1,000 people would be solid at the very least. But what then differentiates
mm,
people that get selected at the end of the day it's these little things, right? Being able to tie a goal to that of the FCDO, which is the office sponsoring you really when you get the scholarship. So that is quite important. No, now I mentioned the star approach,
the
and to be
document is
honest,
available online, right? The document
what
on
document is that?
maybe UK Nigerian relationship or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's this
Strategy.
website. I think I can't remember the website now, but it's a website that states all the projects going on in Nigeria that are UK funded.
Oh, wow.
Right? They like all the project, whether it's health, whether it's education, you are going to see that, right? And when it comes to your career goal, these are projects you can tie your interventions to. That, oh, when I come back, right, I'm going to leverage this FCDO funded project, right, to
Mm,
do XYZ and not, you know, um,
mm.
yeah, but the truth is that I believe anybody who is serious with changing application, this is not the first time they would hear about Star Approach, right? That's something, uh, like the moment you just open YouTube or Google and you read about uh, Chiefly and all that, then the next thing I say is Star Approach, Star Approach. So the point is, everybody, at least half of the applicants, would make efforts in doing that, and I wouldn't advise you to change the strategy, really. Now it's about so then what makes this style approach different from the other person, right? So imagine I'm saying that, well, in a particular place, the maternal and child mortality rates is high, right? You don't want to say maternal and child mortality. I'm just giving an illustration, right? You want to be more specific when you're giving your example. But the maternal and child mortality rate is high. Um, and that's the situation, right? What the task at hand is, it's that okay, um, people can't ask, maybe they have poor health seeking behavior, right? Poor health seeking behavior, um, and poor access to healthcare. That's more like, in a way, this is the task at hand. That's the problem, right? So the maternal mortality is high. The problem, the situation, right? Task, um, uh, poor health seeking behavior and poor health access, right? Or no health workers, something like that. That's the task. So obviously your action will be directed towards the task, right? So you then say that, oh, you mobilize resources. You mentioned that you mobilize resources to um, address this, right? To educate the community on uh, good health-seeking behaviors. That, or when a child is feeling feverish, you take the child to the hospital. You find community health extension workers to do X, Y, Z, right? And after doing this, then this was the result, right? I mentioned the situation, task, action, result. So what some people would do is like, well, people now use the health facility now after, you know, implementing your intervention. People now, no, you have to put the numbers there. Like, what is the number, right? And I know that this might be difficult, but it's doable in the sense, because a number of times when we're trying to, carry out certain activities, we don't think about the numbers most times, right? Maybe it's just a project that interests us, and we want to really contribute. And like we're just passionate about it, and we do what we needed to do. Uh, Without you thinking about the number, it's not that you want to tell someone about it, but now you're applying for achievement. Like, oh yeah, this is an interesting story to tell. But you're like, oh boy, I didn't, you know, I wasn't mindful of this number of people. This is where you can estimate, right? You don't need to lie, but you can just do some guesstimates that, okay, we use this is the capacity uh of the hall. It can only contain like 200 people, for instance. And you remember that day that it was half filled up or it was full, right? So you're able to really state that, okay, yes, we reached this number of people, right? So achievement is really big on numbers, like numbers, really big. If you say, you don't say maternal mortality rates. You need to state the number of people that die. Like, it is that important. Now, I
Mm.
put this together, and if you just write what I said now, even though you follow the STAR approach, there's a good chance that you're not going to get it. You'll not be called for the interview, right? Because you're missing something, right? As part of what they are looking for, is the first thing there is, oh, this person had a position of leadership in a professional context, including in a voluntary organization, e.g., a political party, university society, NGO, charity, or professional association, right? So when you say you solve a problem, right, the question is like, what position, like what was your role that enables you to solve that particular problem? If you said that you solved a problem in school, were you the president of your department? Were you the class rep? Right. Those little things matter. Like I said, almost half of the applicants will use the STAR approach, right? Even though they are looking for that, but it's these little things that differentiate who gets to the next stage and who doesn't really at the end of the day. So, and another thing to mention is Chevening is also big um, on how recent your interventions are, right? So you could see someone's essays. The person mentioned their activities while in school, right? You take the same approach, and you're like, that person got to the interview stage, or that person is a children's scholar, but I was not even called for the interview. So it could be that, for instance, you graduated from school like 7 years ago, 10 years ago, and you are still talking about uh like what you did as the president or as the SCG president. Like, I mean, what I'm saying now, it's on the children website. It's there that okay, some common reasons why people uh don't make it, right? Is that they give very old uh examples, right? So you finished school 10 years ago, you call yourself a leader, right? As a leader, you ought to have done a lot of things that are more interesting than what you did like 10 years ago, really.
Mm.
But someone that finished school like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, if that person still refer back to what he or she did while in school, I mean, not a bad idea, right? So these are the nuances that are like that are often missing. I mean, people complain a lot about, yeah, I followed the scripts, I was told star approach, I gave 3 examples. Sometimes it's these little things, right? So I think that is for the leadership. For the networking, I mean, basically the same thing applies. It's still use your star approach. But now, for networking, specific things there is you
So,
want
Sadiq,
to talk. Yeah.
yeah, I have a quick question on leadership.
All right.
Some people they want to apply, but they've not had maybe a big role somewhere or something. Uh, is it about big roles or you know you understand what I'm trying to say? Maybe
No,
you're
no.
not director somewhere, you're not the head of something, and you still want to apply. Yeah.
so it's not about big roles. Like you have people that after NYC they get the scholarship, right?
Mhm.
Just immediately after they concluded their NYC program, they won the Chevening Scholarship, and they did not lie, right? What is stated is that you need 2 years uh work experience, right, in order to apply.
Mm.
And it's possible that some people start working from the final year, and now most uh, undergraduate these days, they actually have one thing they are doing or the other, right? As long as they're able to prove that yes, I have this. Um,
Uh, I think it went off, so it's going to be back. Yeah, it's back. It's back. So I think what you have to pick from what they have said so far is that it's not about you holding big roles. It's about you being able to demonstrate what you have done in a clear way. And approach, STARR, can look up the approach online. Is basically about giving a balanced approach to uh like what you're applying for or how you are explaining what you've done. So it's very, very important to actually make that clear. Yeah, he's back.
yeah, apologies, my laptop went off, and I didn't
No
know I was on
problem.
my charger. Yeah.
Uh,
Um. So what was the question you asked
yeah,
before
about big roles. People have that misconception that they have to have been maybe director somewhere or something like that. Uh,
Yeah. So.
is this yeah a bit slant?
Oh, okay.
Maybe just keep it the
Uh.
way. Yeah, it's fine like this. Still
Okay.
okay.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I'm saying that's not really the case, right? As I stated, that what is more important is you being able to state that, this was my position, right? I remember one of the examples I gave was when I was in school as well, right? So it's not, I mean, if you have occupied the significant like a higher role, of course it's good to state it, but if you haven't, it doesn't stop anything, right?
Mm.
It doesn't stop anything. Like, I mean, I do. more than half of people that are in my cohort are actually younger than 30, right? And you will agree with me that in Nigeria, not most people haven't gotten to the director role at that, at that age. So it's more about what you have done, right? And being able to narrate it clearly. That
Right.
someone who hasn't seen you is able to relate with your story clearly.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's it. Any other question on that, or should I
So,
proceed?
yeah, you can proceed. Thank you.
All right. All right. So for the networking bits, it's also, using the star approach and all, but what the main difference is, how did you meet this person, right? It needs to be clear. How did you meet this person? How did you initiate, conversation with this person? How did you sustain that relationship? What did you guys do together, right? What did you do for the person? Then the impact you made through that network, right? And my general advice when it comes to this is, you know, you uh, sorry, just give me a second. So you want to show that like you could network through different avenues. And it's not just, like for instance, maybe your first example, you said that you met this person at so conference and that, right? Then your second example shouldn't be conference again. Your third example should, you want to maybe the first one you mentioned conference. The second one you want to show is through social media. It could be Twitter, it could be LinkedIn, it could be uh, any of those things, right? Third could be at work. This or someone you met at work, maybe your colleague at work or your senior colleague at work. Maybe you are transition out of that particular organization and you sustain that and you're able to leverage that uh, network, that the connection you have with that person to implement a particular project, right? Um, Now, in terms of impact, this is another mistake I've seen quite a lot. That when it comes to Chevening Scholarship, this is not where you really want to talk about how you use a network to get a particular job.
Mm.
it- I mean, it's good, right? We make use of network no doubt, it's a good thing, but you're not making it's more maybe again, maybe it was through that job you then make a particular impact, but it's not straightforward. So don't make it all about you. Oh, I was able to use this to get, 1 million naira to cater to my brother's needs.
Mm.
That's not what we want to hear there. That's not what they want to hear there because I don't matter here. So I would say that, and again, you also want to show that you are a giver. You are not just a taker, right? That, oh, this person, what did you do for that person, right? It's good to just to show that really. So if you're able to demonstrate that, I think you will be fine with the networking essay, and it would be great if uh, the story aligns, right? So I know that life is not a script, right? But it can be confusing if I'm reading your story and you are jumping from education to health to business. It can be, it can be funny. Even though I do know that, if you're a management consultant now, you could work on different projects in the same organization. You could be working on education today, you're working on energy tomorrow. I understand, but you want to be clear with your story, right? Don't forget, this person probably has like 40 other essays to read. So if I need to, from here move from energy to health, it can be really confusing. But there are some roles like people in development space. If you're a development expert, for instance, You probably touch on different developmental issues like education, health. So you want to signify that early on, so the person knows what is coming, right? What is coming. So I think that's what I would say on that. And the more examples you're able to give, the better here as well. I'm a fan of, give at least three examples. I mean, give three examples, no, at least. But uh, there's also an important part here. I think it's good to also have a paragraph on what you intend to do when you get the Chevening Scholarship, right? Yeah, I would advise that because I think it's part of the uh, scoring guide as well. So after providing your examples, they mentioned that, oh, when I do get this, I will leverage these platforms, the achievement platforms, I will leverage this, or maybe you have like 20, 30,000 followers, like you're going to collaborate with the uh, UK Nigeria platform on Twitter, on LinkedIn to do XYZ. And, it doesn't need to be a lot, right? But just showing that you're already thinking of what you want to do when you get to the UK. I think this could give you an edge, really. Um, yeah, I mean, people can ask questions later. So then, why study in the UK? I think the way to approach that, so in a way, again, this is my opinion. This is my opinion, but this is how I went about mine. So the leadership and the networking essay, I sort of see them as one, right? While studying in the UK and the career plan, I see them as one, right? Because they kind of lead into each other, right? So while studying in the UK, what are you passionate about? I mean, the way I started my essay was like, this is what I'm passionate about, right? I have this passion for infectious disease control, XYZ, right? And then said evidence by, right, that I've taken over 30 online courses on on this, right? And I have this number of publications, right, on this. So like I told you, I already told you what I'm interested in, right? And also provided you with evidence to show that okay, it's not just okay, because talk is cheap, right? But I'm telling you that okay, this is some also what I have done, right? Then um so I then got on like I think the stats on that problem I want to solve. Oh, this number of people die from these diseases, right, per year,
Mm.
and per year. And this is what I've done so far, right? From when I was in school so now, this is what I have done, right? But in order to do what I'm doing, in order to do it better, right, I need this UK education to do it. Then why the UK? Why not Germany? Why not the US? Right? Then you mentioned something specific to the UK in line with your area of interest. I mean, do not get me. I'm not saying that you need to follow this, but they need to show one way or the other in your essay, right? Yeah, you have said a lot in your leadership and all, they know what you've done, but just bring it together to say that, oh, you can do it in one sentence. Yeah, this is what I've done as so and so, right? Now to get to the next level or to do this better, this is this is why I then need the UK masters, right? And why UK? State it clearly that because UK is number one here or wherever you want to say that, then I think you are going to choose three schools. So you mentioned I will advise that each school has its paragraph, right? And then the first school that you choose, that's your first choice, I think you want to say a lot about that particular school. You really want to say a lot. Why are you choosing that program in particular? And after you've explained that, a module, a lecturer, a research institute, you know, yeah, people say the ranking, but the ranking is not really about you, right? So, I mean, you can mention it, but so you want to be detailed about your first choice. There's a reason why it's your first choice, right? So this second school, you probably don't want to say the same thing you said about that. Then it becomes boring, right? We all know when we read boring essays and all that. So what is special about that second choice that that first one doesn't have? You don't need to say that, okay, the first one does not have it. No, but what is specific about this second one? You probably don't want to emphasize a lot more on the modules on the second one, right? And the third, by the time you're getting to the third one, you might not have enough room to say a lot of things again. Then, just hit the nail on the head with something specific to that particular one as well. And you don't want to limit everything you've written to just the academic side. What are the extracurricular things that are peculiar to the UK, right, in line with your field of interest. So I think that's really it's about why studying in the UK. Just generally, I think the summary, I like to make job easy for anybody that is reading my write-up, right? So I try to tell you this is what I'm interested in, and this is what I have done, right, so far, to show that yes, I actually love academics, right? It's not just that, well, Nigeria is so hard right now. I need to jackpot, right? That's not the vibe. So if I'm telling you that I've
Don't put that in
taken,
your application, no. You want to
if I'm
jackpot.
if I'm telling you that, oh, I've like I've taken 20 online courses on this topic. I mean, you can't say that I'm not serious, right? Oh, I've published 2 papers on this. I'm not saying, see, you don't need to publish paper to get Chevening Scholarship. Do not get me wrong, right? I'm just citing examples to demonstrate that, yeah, I'm truly interested in this, right? Uh, So,
Anything that will
um,
put you in a good light to show that you are
yeah,
serious and the potential impact that you've made and that you are going to make. You have to show that clearly in your application.
yeah. And you want to mention, if you're interested in education now, you can mention the literacy rates in Nigeria, right? And tell us what you've done in one sentence, and then get into the main thing, discuss the schools, and that's it. Then for the career plan, almost the same strategy, but uh, so this is what you want to solve. I want to solve this, right? This is the state it is now, right? And um, then you split it into your short term, mid term, and the long term. You definitely want to write a lot about your short term, right? Because that's more believable. We actually don't know what is going to happen in 5 years time, 10 years time. But I mean, you should still, like your immediate goal should be clearer. A lot of people advise that it's better to state that you will continue in your former role. Like maybe you work with a particular organization that you will resume at that organization, uh, but in a more senior role, something like that. But there's no hard and fast rule about it. It's all about story. It's all about, is your story believable or not, right? So there are things you want to do here. You want to give specific, no, years, right? So in 2 years' time, I will do this, right? Uh, Mid-term goal, maybe 5 to 7 years, I will do this, right? In 10 years' time, or long term, maybe you might not need to say much about give the specific, but the short term and mid-term, you definitely want to state your the specific years to show that okay, you know what you're doing. Here, second part is that you also want to tie whatever you're doing with what UK is doing in your country. Like I can't remember the websites now. You want to find that website of the different projects UK is funding in Nigeria. So like you can always tie what you want to do to such projects, right? I did. I did. I can't remember. I think the Lafia project. Yeah, that's one else project being implemented in northern Nigeria, right? I mentioned I work with the Lafia deputy director to do XYZ. So like you want to do that. It shows that okay, yeah, it seems this person is truly passionate about what he said, right? Um uh so there's this thing on SMART, is your goal specific, is it measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound? You want to be specific. You can't solve all this. Make your story right, make it believable. Don't say you finish the masters and now you are coming back from the UK, you want to uh what is the word, right? You put law to ensure that all corrupt politicians are killed. You don't have the power, right? So you want to say something that is really believable, right? But like I said, there is no hard and fast rule about a number of things. It doesn't make sense when you tie it up. So one thing, when you're applying for Chevening Scholarship, one thing people will tell you is that don't mention PhD at all in your career plan. Don't. I did. I mentioned it, and here I am. Like I got the scholarship, right? But of course, your goal after your master's cannot be PhD. It can be, right? And why? So, for instance, I said that okay, yeah, I'm interested in PhD vaccinology because I mean, in in the whole of Africa, right, we produce less than 1% of vaccines that we use, less than 1%. So there is no capacity. So it's more like, okay, well, I'll come back, I'll do X, Y, Z, right? And midterm, I would like to do my PhD in vaccinology. And that's because there is no capacity, right? And the idea behind that is that I don't want a case where like people don't have to go, right? To
Mm.
leave Nigeria to learn it. So I want to build capacity back home. I mentioned the institutions I would like to work with, to address some of these things, right? But to be honest, I might still advise you not to put PhD in your in your in your essay. But I only mentioned that just to uh allow you to understand that like yeah, there are general tips, but there are no hard and fast rules about some of these things, right? Yeah, so I think I'll stop here to entertain questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sadiq, for that concise insight. So someone is asking here, Malik, thank you for the wonderful session. My question is, do I need to get an international passport before applying? That means that do they ask for the passport details when you want to apply for Chevening Scholarship?
Yeah, I think they do. I think I uploaded my passport when I filled the form, right? When I applied, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'll be honest about, but I remember submitting my uh uploading my passport, but I'm not sure it's mandatory. I'm not sure it's mandatory because there are some things that they ask that um so for instance, the recommendation letter they ask for it, but most times you might not submit it until you get the invite, right? Maybe like some days before your interview. That's when, that's the deadline. Even though you can submit it at the time you are applying as well. So like I don't have that uh I'm not sure about that really.
So probably you can try to check or just go through the application and see whether it's there or not.
I
Yeah.
think you can just mail the Chevening secretariats, right? Or you can just check online. I'm sure someone would have asked this before. So, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Malik is also asking that the platform, that means that where you're going to apply, do they allow links to your portfolio or previous projects for
No, they
verification?
don't. They don't.
So it's like a box. Just type in, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yeah. So they don't. Now I want you to touch on the fact that some people might be worried that they don't have publications and all. Is there any correlation between being successful at Chevening scholarship and research papers?
Like Chevening is not at least at the Chevening is one of those scholarship that is not so hell bent on, like those academic activities, really, to be honest. I mean, if you have it, it's good, right? I mean, I had it and I said it, and I'm sure it's out my application, but trust me, a lot of people that apply for Chevening, they do not have publications when they apply. So I wouldn't bother about that if I don't have it, right? Because I mean, the deadline is in 2 months or something. That's not when I rather spend that time working on my essays. Right? Okay, I think one other thing that I should say is you want to uh get people to really review your essays, right? You want to get people to review your essays. Like Chevening alumni, that will really help you a lot. I mean, I'm not volunteering because it's a very busy period for me. But you really want to find people to review your essays on time. You want to get feedback on time, right? So there are four essays. So when you're done with your leadership essay, you can send it out while you're working on your networking essay. Or
Yeah.
maybe you want to work on both leadership and networking at the same time, and you send it for people in order to get feedback, right? You want to get feedback on time, right? Because I mean, like I mentioned, there are lots of resources on children on the internet. Yeah. But sometimes it can be confusing. You don't even like I've said some things to you now. You probably hear something different from from another webinar, right? So, but the best thing is if you can get enough children scholars to go through and again, when people review your stuff, if you don't agree with certain things, ask questions. Like, don't forget, they are not the main reviewers, right? So ask questions. Why? Like, always try to understand why, right? And again, even though you might have three, four reviewers, if you don't do your job well, you won't get the best input from them, right? When you have something great, people are able to give you something great as well. But if you don't write well, if you have not done your homework, right, at the end of the day, people will just paraphrase your English. They will just correct grammatical errors and send back to you. And you won't say they didn't review your work. So even though I advise that, getting people to review the work, but you want to put something great. Put out something great, really. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Another question. Reflecting on your own personal journey, what do you wish to have known before applying for the scholarship? Is there anything, though you are successful now, that I mean, you're a scholar already?
uh, I think maybe it's the last thing I said, right? The role of, because sometimes, having come through the internet, you think you have everything um,
Hmm.
ready, but um, Uh, when you then engage an alumnus or you engage alumni or current scholars, they give you some insights that, oh, I didn't know this, right? They are in for a reason. If you are a scholar from Nigeria, you did not get in by mistake. Trust me, right? Like I said, the number of applicants from Nigeria is enormous. So, you still have to go through the interview process. Like the interview process, even though like maybe someone helped you to write your essays, you still have the interview panel, like four people, and like I said, my cohort, more about 220 thereabout were called for interview, so it was still 1 in 5, right? It was still 1 in 5. So uh, my main advice is put something great together. Use the resources on the internet, but get people to review your work. Like at least the first review, at least get it like a month before the deadline, right? Because you might need to don't get tired of feedback. But again, when you get feedback, I'm not saying you should argue, right? Just understand the rationale. It's not really about someone writing the essay for you. I can't write your story better than you, even though I'm a children's scholar, right?
Mm.
You should be more interested in the rationale. Why? Right? Why? Because I mean, there are people that help people write. They are consultants. We just now imagine I'm a consultant. I help like 10 people to write their essays. How many of them will actually? How many of them will actually? Uh, how many of them will be great at the end of the day? So you still need to put in that work yourself, but get people to review your essays on time.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sadiq. And like owing to how competitive the scholarship is, will you recommend someone to just apply for Chevening scholarship alone?
So I have a general saying, when it comes to scholarship, it's not even just children. Scholarship is not I mean, it's a general saying I share with my friends that it's not your family money, right? That's the truth when it comes to scholarship. So even though like you think you're the best candidates, you've led different projects in Africa, even in the United States, you might still not get it, right? So I would definitely not put my egg in one basket, and there's no reason to, right? There's no reason to, um, really. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. I wouldn't put my egg in one basket, to be honest, right? So spread your tentacles. I spread my tentacles. I mean, I applied for Erasmus, I applied for Commonwealth Shed, I applied for, but again, there are some people that the only thing they want is children's scholarship. That, it's not. I mean, they would like to study in the UK, but they just want children's scholarship. I mean, if you belong to that class of people, well, great. That if scholarship is the most important thing, that's fine, right? But if what you're interested in is, you want to get world-class education in whether in the UK or in the US, anywhere in the world, right? Obviously you should apply for more than one scholarship. Yeah. But again, if you have your funding, if you have your money, why not? You can decide not to apply. Yeah.
Right. Any final words for applicant for this year's scholarship, cross board, Chevening, other scholarship, admission? Any
I
word for
think
them?
I think my advice is that I mean I just mentioned that it's good to apply for as many as possible, but at the same time you want to be honest with yourself. Like uh am I like do I meet the criteria the eligibility criteria, right, or not? So that if you know that like you do not meet the eligibility criteria, I'm not saying that do you stand a chance of getting it. I'm saying do you meet eligibility criteria? So for achieving, for instance, like if you have not worked for 2 years, there's a way they calculate it. By November, you hear back from them that you didn't make it, right? That's not even about the quality of your essays or anything. So if
Mm,
you know that, okay, I do not meet the eligibility criteria,
mm,
there is no need to, it's better you apply for three that you know that you meet the criteria, you apply for it well, than applying for eight that, you know, that you did not meet the criteria. So the time you're supposed to spend on three, you then spend it on eight, even though the other five are not going to read your application. They won't bother about your application. So so I would definitely advise that just ensure that make sure that you meet the eligibility criteria, and once you meet it, shoot your shot. Reach out to people, and when people don't respond to you, it's not because they are proud or anything. They probably have 1 million things that they are doing, right? So, but reach out to as many people as possible, right? And again, I'm not preaching for failure, but I mean, something that you have just 0.1% chance of getting, that there is 99.9 chance of failing. So don't feel bad if you get rejection. Like keep going. right? And so for Commonwealth shared, I will advise that you apply as early as possible, right? The funny thing about Commonwealth share is that you can apply to the Commonwealth share scholarship in itself, and you have not applied to the school. So when I say you should apply as early as possible, like you want to apply as early as possible to that particular school because it is the school that will nominate candidates for the Commonwealth share. So if you apply, like let's say you meet the deadline for the Commonwealth share, but which will probably be in December, you're then applying for the Commonwealth share in February. In February, right? Your profile might be great. Your profile might be great for Commonwealth shared, but at the time the department was selecting, you had not applied to the department. So how will they select you? Right? So like these are the things that people don't talk about, right? So you want to get on this as soon as possible. When I say like you should apply early, I'm not saying you should just put anyhow application together, right? You put something great together, and that's the point of starting early, right? So if you start now, we are almost in September. You know, most competitive programs like the application open most times in September, right? You want to start putting your stuff together, right? The people that you want to review your work, you want to start reaching out to them now. You can't just say like the deadline is in 2 days. You are reaching out to them 2 days. They have things they are doing. They are busy. And there are probably people that reach out to them like 2 months before you, right? So I mean that would be my general advice. I would say again, if you get rejected, it's not the end of the world. It's part of the journey, right? It's part of the journey. So I think that would be my final tips. And
Thank you.
best of luck to everyone.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Sadiq. And let me check. I think, yeah, we have no questions again. So thank you very much for your time and for making out time. As Oxford Scholar, as Chevening Scholar, you still make out time for us to discuss this particular topic. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. We appreciate your efforts. So, think we are going to end the call now. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you for having me.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.